right smack dab in the middle of the great state of California, in my COVID closet. How are you, everyone? It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. I was a little reluctant to go on today because, I try to go on live. As you can hear, my voice is, as they say, crap, because I don't know what it is. I had the sniffles or something. I think I'm fine. I will test because that's sort of like our baseline about, well, could be a cold. Well, all of COVID is a cold now, but I will test. I'm sure I'm fine. Well, I hope. Hope you're doing well. Friends on the East Coast are enjoying the sun. It's sunny out there. It's sunny here, but a little windy, out in California. I still am feeling like it's our California wintertime, where it's windy and then there's some rain and it's not really all that bad compared to the way it's been on the East Coast. But, you put on the heavy coat, you go outside, that kind of thing. Anyway, welcome to our show, Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable, an old style radio talk show, where, you just sort of like put it on your phone, maybe on YouTube at Emil Amok 1, youtube.com at Emil Amok 1, or maybe you're on Twitter, you listen to it, you just set it aside, just have it play while you do whatever you do. It's live. I do it live because then, I say, we can't make a mistake. Or you live with the mistakes when you're live, right? So there's just something about going live. There's a certain show on NBC that's been on for more than 40 years. I know about what live means. So I do it live at 2 p.m. Pacific, and then you can go back and watch it and use your finger to go fast forward or in reverse or just shut it down, whatever you wish. But today I want to talk about a couple of things. Of course, I've got to talk about the New York City Fringe. It's coming on April, starting the start of April. My show, Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. I do these Amok monologues. I call them my Amok monologues because it's me, one guy, standing in front of a crowd talking. Sort of what I'm doing here. Although with a little more scale, maybe. And I tell stories like my Lost NPR host story. Everywhere I go, there's usually one or two people who stop me and say, "Oh my God, was that you, Emil? I listened to you. You're on with that. Yeah, you're on with a woman. Incidentally, her name is Lynn Neary. Oh, you're on with her? Oh, yeah, I remember you now." And then they'll say something like, "Yeah, I didn't know you were a Filipino guy," or something like that. Anyway, Lost NPR host is one story or a frame. Wiley Filipino, I talk about my dad, vegan trans dad. You're just gonna have to see what that's all about. Here's the website. It's on the website of frigid.nyc. And find the calendar, Lost NPR host Emil Amok. And here's what some people have said about the show. DC Metro Theater Arts, about my Amok monologues. Charismatic, they said. Here's another one. Orlando Weekly said, enjoy trying to keep pace with Guillermo's brilliant mind. Their choice of adjective, I would have used something a little less brilliant, but I do have a mind. Funny, poignant, they say. And this is all a storytelling show at Under St. Mark's Theater in, let's see, where is it? Under St. Mark's. It's in New York City, 1st Avenue, Manhattan. Here's the calendar. April 5th is the first show. So I believe that first show is at 9:30. It's at night, 9:30 p.m. It's all different times. It's part of a festival. And then April 8th on Monday, that should be a good show because then I'll have 2 days to think, oh my God, I could have done this better. And then I'll have like 1, 2, 3, 4 days until the 13th. And the 13th should be a good show. Saturday the 13th. The 19th is there on Friday. And then the 21st, the final show. So I only have 5 shows in New York City for the New York City Fringe. And it originally was the Frigid Fringe. The Frigid Fringe would take place in February and March, and I was there last year. But I guess I figured, it's kind of cold. Let's wait till April and do it, and it'll be warm. And you talk to a New Yorker, and when the temperature reaches 70 degrees, they go crazy. Out come the halter tops and the shorts, and it's like, right? It's like springtime. They go crazy. So the show, Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st. Go to the frigid.nyc website and check it out. Buy your ticket there. Come say hello. It's usually a very intimate crowd. There's like it's a small house. It's a small house. I like to play this space because it's so intimate. And Emil, if nothing else, it's going to be a true show, an authentic show. It's going to have a certain sense of intimacy, and that is a value. It's not like I'm trying to sell you anything, as I am now. Oh, I'm selling you on my show. So check it out. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad, coming to New York City starting April 5th, the New York City Fringe Festival. And this is the New York City version of the Fringe that really the DNA starts in Edinburgh, right? And goes through all the English-speaking countries, Australia, Canada, United States. And I'd say Frigid among the Fringe festivals or the New York City Fringe. They're changing the name from Frigid to the New York City Fringe. I think it's a worthy Fringe. I've been to about 9 of these now. I think the biggest Fringe I've seen, let's see, Orlando, big Fringe in Orlando. Minneapolis has a good Fringe. Indianapolis has a good Fringe. DC is making a comeback. It had a good Fringe, and then I don't know. Everyone's having trouble trying to make ends meet, which, you talk to an artist goes in saying, I'm not going to make ends meet. So when the foundation of the thing says, and this is true with Vancouver, the Vancouver Fringe, I saw an article about they're having trouble, and it doesn't cost much to put on a Fringe, really. I mean, they're looking for what? I saw an article on the Vancouver Fringe saying they could use an extra $80,000, which is like nothing. And what are we talking about when we talk about the Fringe? We're talking about shows that would not get the time of day, that would not get any play anywhere, on Broadway, off Broadway, off Broadway. But at a Fringe, you get the stage, you get the time, you tell your story. It's why I like doing these Fringes, because look, I'm not looking to make my mark on Broadway. I mean, if someone gives me some time in a theater, I'll take my show on Broadway. Follow Mike Birbiglia or Alex Edelman, Spalding Gray. But most of those shows start in these little incubators like Under St. Mark's and at Fringe festivals. And so I'm happy to be there, and I look forward to you joining me. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad. Go to the frigid.nyc website and get your ticket today. They're April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st at Under St. Mark's Theater in Manhattan on St. Mark's and First Avenue. Okay. All right, so today I wanted to talk about, I had to write this piece for the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. I mean, I didn't have to, but I felt compelled because Robert Herr was probably the most famous Asian American this week. I mean, there he was, uh, the sole person speaking, at the hearing, the sole person who is being interrogated by the senators and the representatives, by the congressmen. And I thought, this is a unique position for an Asian American to be in. In fact, I was thinking, Asian American Pacific Islander, AAPI special prosecutors. I mean, I was trying to think, has there ever been one? I mean, I don't know if there has ever been one, but we know about special prosecutors, the Robert Muellers, the Ken Starrs. I mean, going back to, let's see, was Leon Jaworski, was he a Watergate prosecutor, I think? I mean, when you're a special prosecutor, it's like you have elevated yourself or separated yourself in the pack of legal eagles in the Washington scene. And I know a lot of people had forgotten that Robert Hur existed because he'd been doing his work quietly. That's why I call him model minority special prosecutor. He was doing his work diligently, quietly. And then a few weeks ago, he came out with the report and people said, what was this? Oh yeah, that guy. And I'd written about it when he was appointed a year ago February, and talked about his immigrant, his past as a Korean American 1.5, and how, went to Harvard, sharp guy, was appointed by Trump. But Merrick Garland says, here's the guy who's going to be the special prosecutor. It's good to have a Republican because we have faith in the system, faith that people are going to be right down the line, letter of the law. And then we saw Hur's report in February, and it made us question, because really it was then that we saw the whole ageist thing come up against Joe Biden. I mean, Joe Biden always had ageism coming to him. But when the Republicans saw Robert Hur's report, they said, oh my God, this is what we've been looking for. This is the thing that's going to flog the ageist, line in the campaign against Joe Biden. This is what's going to fuel that, that fervor. They really thought they'd struck gold with Robert Hur's report. And so I wrote this for the ALDEF blog today, because I've been talking about it the last couple of days. Not really, I'm trying to understand how I feel about it. Is it good what Robert Hur did? Or is it just a kind of opportunistic thing that is not, in the end, good for anybody? So this is titled Robert Hur, Model Minority Special Prosecutor, or Waste of Time. Oh, how we hate the term model minority, which presupposes a good model for people of color and Asian Americans in particular to follow in life and career. But judging by his performance the other day at the congressional hearing, or at a congressional hearing, Robert Hur, the former special prosecutor in the Biden documents case, former because he did resign from the Justice Department in order to specifically speak at this congressional hearing. He resigned his post as special prosecutor. Hur has put his unique stamp on the positive negative stereotype that hounds us all, Asian Americans. How can you not be the new face of the political model minority when you've managed to confound both Democrats and Republicans? Hur, a Trump pick in the Justice Department, was appointed to his special prosecutor role by Biden's Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Hur was unflustered this week as he stood his ground defending his report, while keeping his options open for a federal judicial appointment in a potential second Trump administration. That takes some deft skill. I mean, it was Hur's report that was the initial model minority aspect of this ordeal. The executive summary's first graph said it all. Quote, "We conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter." Very first sentence. "We conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter." We would reach the same conclusion even if Department of Justice policy did not foreclose criminal charges against the sitting president. 2 sentences, that's it. He could have ended it. Nothing more was needed in the case about Biden's handling of government documents. But Hur went above and beyond in his report that was nearly 400 pages long. I mean, was the guy looking for extra credit? Legally, the obligation was met once Hur concluded no criminal charges were warranted. Yet Hur added the unnecessary speculation of the case going before a jury, even though Hur decided it wouldn't have. And that's when Hur's report put forth the image of a, quote, elderly Biden as an aging senior citizen and sympathetic witness. All that opining on Biden's memory gave Republicans the excuse to go full-on ageist against Biden and zero in on his fitness to be president for a second term. It was the primary reason for this week's hearing, to get damning testimony on video about Biden's age for GOP anti-Biden ads. Excuse me. Hur's words in the report said it all. Republicans were gleeful, ready to expose Biden based on that perception that Hur would reveal just how doddering Biden was during the investigation. In fact, there was Representative Scott Fitzgerald, Republican of Wisconsin, who read the definition of senile and asked Hur point blank if Biden was senile. And of course, Hur said no. It was not the answer Republicans were expecting. Another document revealed at the hearing actually had Hur assessing that Biden had a photographic memory. The Republican Biden's too old argument was crumbling before everyone's eyes. And I think, if anything, that's the important thing to get out of the hearing with Robert Hur. That the Biden's too old argument is, if you thought it had legs, no. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. It's up to Biden now. But look at how he's rejuvenated himself since the State of the Union address. He's in for the fight. But in fact, Democrats used the hearing to show the differences between how Biden acted in his documents case, no criminality, versus how Trump acted in his document mishandling case, much criminality alleged. And of course, if turnabout is fair play, Democrats showed video examples of how Trump's age and bumbling were worth questioning the fitness of an aging narcissist. So it was like backfiring before Republicans' eyes. First, their guy who had written this report talking about, Biden as if he was some kind of elderly man who just didn't know up from down. Well, he wasn't corroborating that notion. Was he senile? No. Biden's not senile. That's not in the report. And then Democrats used it to show the difference between Biden and Trump in the handling of the documents case, in their respective cases. And then there was the Democrats saying, hey, look, and here's Trump at his finest, mangling words, forgetting things, not knowing who he's married to. I mean, this on and on video was introduced. And so that was the hearing. That was the value of the hearing in some respects, to sort of put that ageist attack to rest. But Democrats wanted to go after Hur too, to question his motives. You understood that you would ignite a political firestorm, Adam Schiff said about the report's passages about Biden's age and memory. Hur stayed calm and stuck to his guns. Politics played no role. Hur insisted, saying he was following the rules to prepare a confidential, thorough, and comprehensive report. But Schiff wasn't letting up. What is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute, Schiff said. You don't gratuitously add language you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understand exactly what you were doing. It was a choice, he said directly to her. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You made a choice, a political choice. It was the wrong choice. And look what happened this week. If Hur didn't know better, he should have. And he should have omitted the extraneous comments about Biden's age. They weren't relevant. And if Hur did know, well, he got his close-up that breaks him out of the Asian American pack of lawyers and attorneys in the political realm. Everyone knows Hur now. He adds to his Asian American story, a good Korean 1.5 who grew up in New York City, went to Harvard Law. That's admirable. But what did he really do but create a needless and chaotic sideshow for a case that he knew had no prosecutorial merit? Nothing. A total waste of time? Well, as I said, we did get to know her like we got to know Ken Starr and Bob Mueller, the special prosecutors of scandals past. Has there ever been an AAPI special prosecutor? I had to think about it. I don't think there has. But now, if you're an Asian American lawyer, people might look at you and think of him or her. He's his own model minority, the Asian American in the middle, the guy who stuck it to both Democrats and Republicans and wasted everyone's time. So, I mean, that's me just thinking about her. Because, you know, if you followed my takes throughout these last couple of days, I was thinking, well, is her what Hur is doing, is it good? I mean, he's like right there in the middle. Okay, I can see just playing the rules, and I have to write this comprehensive report. Here's a comprehensive report. But really, he did go over and above the call of duty. He did not have to go 400 pages. He did not have to include, the gratuitous language, as Adam Schiff said, talking about, you know, what Biden would have done if he were before a jury. But how relevant was that once Hur concluded, hey, this case is not a case. This case is a no merit. And so why was he doing it? And Schiff pressed him, saying he did it for political reasons. And here you are trying to deny it. I mean, maybe that's, I mean, if you want to back Robert Hur, you say, oh, well, you know, he's just playing it by the rules and doing what he had to do. But no, I think Schiff kind of exposed him there a little bit, that he went over and above and he tried to have it both ways, which is what liars like to do. I mean, they want to put you in the middle, or put themselves in the middle, so they are lauded and hated by everyone. And so I've been thinking about this because, you know, you might say, oh, well, this is a good thing. This is a good thing what Robert Hur did, right? You want someone this is someone who is not going to be kowtowing to anyone. Well, yeah, but as Schiff pointed out, why the gratuitous language about Biden's age, which gave the Republicans a way to bash Biden for at least, 3-4 weeks. I mean, like I said, it was the reason for the hearing. Without that language, there would be no hearing. Without that language, Congress may have focused in on something more important, like how they're going to save, instead of kicking the can down the road, how they can save the government, meet its budget demands, how we can deal with the southern border crisis without causing domestic World War III, how we can help our allies in Ukraine. Today, by the way, is an election in Russia. And, Putin's going to win, but this is an example of what elections in Russia. I mean, is there any doubt as Russians head to the polls in a 3-day presidential election that is, according to reports, almost certain to extend President Putin's rule by 6 more years? So, and you have the Navalny death. That's how democracy works. Democracy in quotes. That's how that works in Russia. It's a fake democracy. And that's by our understanding of what Donald Trump has done in preparation for his campaign and his optimism that he will win a second term. He's preparing for that kind of democracy, a kind of mock democracy. And he will be helped by people like Robert Hur on the judiciary. One of the exchanges, I didn't use it in my piece, but Eric Swalwell was getting to the point that Robert Hur was really aiming for a federal judgeship, as if we don't have enough Trump judges on the bench right now. And Hur, of course, said he's not political, that's not one of his aspirations. Oh, he says that now. But he can, because it hasn't happened yet. But who really knows? Robert Hur, from his perspective, was in an ideal position because he can say both. I mean, he could talk out of both sides of his mouth. And in doing so, upset and anger Republicans and Democrats and look like, hey, I'm above it all. No, he was not above it all. He was playing politics. Okay, so that's my take on Robert Hur. I talked to some people and they said, oh, God, can't stand Robert Hur. I don't know. Why are you writing about this guy, Hur? Well, there's guys like Hur all over the United States, all over the nation. Conservative Asian Americans, and they will play both sides and be in the middle. I mean, it sounds like a lot of Asian American voters when you look at it, quite frankly. A lot of the Asian American voters who want to be the swing and don't want to commit. They'll say things that both sides will want, but in the end, they play it close to the vest and they create a kind of distrust and a sense of, well, how loyal is this guy? I don't know. I thought about that aspect of this as I was writing about her. But in the end, I just thought, okay, look, really, he just took us down this road that was a waste of time. If Joe Biden is too old, he will show it on the campaign trail. And he has shown nothing but his fitness for the campaign and for a second term. So for now, the ageist approach by the GOP off to the side. The hope that Robert Hur would energize that, gone. And let's hope it stays gone. I got a little sniffle. Okay, so other things happening. Russia heading to the polls. I'm just scanning AP. Schumer calls for new elections in Israel, saying Netanyahu is an obstacle to peace. Well, okay, so now the Senate Majority Leader is saying that. I've heard Israelis say that from like 3 months ago, and yet he hangs in there. There is a politician. This is why people don't like politicians. This is why when her was saying, "Hey, I'm not playing it political." Oh, you darn right are. I mean, you definitely are. And Adam Schiff, who is a political guy too, you saw how he played the Senate race, buoying up his weak Republican in his own ads, Schiff's own ads, so as not to bring up the name of Katie Porter or Barbara Lee. I mean, Schiff is a politician too. That's why when he goes after Robert Hur and says, you know, you weren't born yesterday. You know what you were doing. Schiff knows what shifty politicians are all about. Oh, here's something that's new. A federal judge appeared reluctant Thursday to dismiss the classified documents prosecution of Donald Trump after his lawyers argued for hours that the case trampled on the former president's rights. Well, that's their argument. They're sticking to it. But Judge Cannon doesn't seem to buy it, which is a surprise because she is a friendly Trump judge. So maybe Cannon, who was nominated to the bench by Trump, and she didn't immediately rule, but made it clear through her questions that she was skeptical of the defense's effort to scuttle one of the 4 criminal cases against Trump. Cannon suggested she seemed inclined to have the disputed issues be decided by a jury. So I guess a hooray, because Judge Cannon isn't as pro-Trump as many of us feared, perhaps. Some other stories here. AP News. You know, their website on the phone is ridiculous. There's all these pop-ups that there are a couple of interesting stories I wanted to get at. One where there was a woman who was, where is that? There's a case of a woman charged with buying guns used in Minnesota standoff that killed 3 first responders. I mean, when was the last time you heard women as the shooters? I mean, I'm all for equal rights. I wish I didn't have to say this, but you rarely hear about women shooters. But that's a case in Minnesota. Here's a big story that no one really talked about. Yes, I did. I talked about it, and you should go to the PETA podcast. Dog deaths revive calls for end to Iditarod, the endurance race with deep roots in Alaska tradition. This year, the deaths of 3 dogs during the race and 5 more during training have refocused attention on the darker side of Alaska's state sport and raised questions about the ethics of asking animals to pull a heavy sled for hundreds of miles, try 1,000 miles, in sub-zero temperatures. Three dogs have died in this latest running of the Iditarod. Terrible. The first deaths in 5 years. Bad enough when they had 2 dying over the weekend on Sunday, and then the 3rd died on Tuesday. And it really spoiled it for Dallas Civi, who is a 6-time champion. But as I point out in the PETA podcast, Dallas Civi had a moose encounter. And when you have a moose encounter, there's only one thing you can do when you're doing the identity. It's shoot the moose. So now you've got a musher, Dallas Civvy, who became the 6-time champion this time. And during his 6th win, he shot a moose that nearly killed and may ultimately yet be the cause of death for a dog, another dog. So we could have 4 dog deaths plus a moose death. Someone tell me that the Iditarod isn't a blood sport. I mean, it definitely is. So, before the race began about a month ago, a few weeks back, there are fewer mushers, fewer advertisers, fewer people interested in the race, but it happens because it's an Alaskan tradition. It goes back to the 19th century. The race is in its 52nd year, over 50. But somehow PETA out there, of course, is out calling for the end of the race. It's close. It's been fighting the last 6 years, and it has seen progress. The first dog deaths in 5 years, this may be it. This may be the thing that makes people understand and realize that the race is cruel, unusual, and not worth propping up. All right, one last thing I want to mention. And this is kind of interesting because, the Supreme Court has taken a lot of flack. People don't like it. People don't. They see it as, we're talking about 6-3 conservative. They're not going to rule rightly on anything for America. Excuse me there. But this just broke. All right, it's on AP. Supreme Court Justices Barrett and Sotomayor, ideological opposites unite to promote civility. Well, that's good, huh? I mean, I think it's progress. You got the Supreme Court coming together, and you got 2 female justices, one who has every right to be on and one who doesn't. But you have 2 coming together to say, come on, let's work together. Here's the lead. With the Supreme Court's approval hovering near record lows, 2 justices have teamed up to promote the art of disagreeing without being nasty about it. That's novel. In joint appearances less than 3 weeks apart, Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Sonia Sotomayor, ideological opposites, said the need for civil debate has never been greater than it is in these polarized times. And they said the Supreme Court, where voices don't get raised in anger, can be a model for the rest of the country. Could be. I guess we'd have to get fitted for ropes, though. Said Barrett, I don't think any of us has a my way or the highway attitude. She's promoting compromise from a position of strength as part of the High Court's supermajority of conservative justices. She spoke on Tuesday. Sotomayor, speaking at a meeting of the nation's governors in late February, said the justices' pens can be sharp, but also deft, D-E-F-T, oh, there's a good word, skillful, deft in writing opinions. Said Sotomayor, there are so many things that you can do to bring the temperature down and to have you functioning together as a group to getting something done that has a benefit in the law. It's really funny because as I read that, I'm thinking, I wonder if the Supreme Court has time for a meditation class. Because I think, look, I took meditation classes. I think I first took them during the pandemic, just before the pandemic. They really helped me. They helped me get through the pandemic. They helped me get through a lot of. They had helped me grow up. I may have been as big a baby as Donald Trump. Maybe. I didn't think so. But, a lot of the things I got angry about, because, you can't be Emil Amok without being a little angry. But a lot of the things that I was angry about, I learned to take care of through meditation. It's helped. It's helped. So that would be cool. You get the Supreme Court, the justices turning in their judge robes for monk's robes, right? The black for the saffron. That'd be kind of cool. And they're all sitting around Clarence Thomas's Buddha. And they're saying, what are they saying? They've got some kind of mantra. Make America great again. That's not a mantra. That's not a mantra. If the gloves don't fit, we must acquit. You must acquit. You must. No, that's not a mantra. That's some mantra. Justice for equal justice, civility. I mean, it's good to see them out there, Amy Coney Barrett and Sotomayor, saying, let's do something about it. In their hearts they want to do something. But some of the issues they talk about and they have to opine on are so undepolarizing. Is that a word? They're just more polarizing. And I think you have to be a superhuman being. Look, it would be great if the Supreme Court wasn't ideological, but I think we have an ideological court. 6-3. I'd like to see more 5-4s. I'd like to see more people compromising, moving toward the center, because it's almost as if you know what they're going to rule on, how they're going to say. A couple of these last ones were surprises. They had a 9-0 on one a couple weeks ago, coming together. I think as the justices get to know each other, maybe that's a possibility. But Clarence Thomas, I mean, his wife's activities, rulings on, upcoming rulings on the 14th Amendment, other things, immunity. I don't know. I don't have much hope for the Supreme Court. All right, as you can tell, I'm fighting a bit of a cold, and so I'm gonna end early. Thank you for joining me. Hey, I'm doing this show at the Frigid Fringe, and if you're watching on YouTube at Emil Amok 1, there's the website you can go to, www.frigid.nyc/event/6897:625. Wow. Or just go to the frigid.nyc website and try to find Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. It's Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. I talk about, I've talked about the Lost NPR host segment in a number of Amok monologues. The wily Filipino, I talk about my dad, but it's an homage to a piece that Steve Martin wrote where he was in search for the wily Filipino, and so I talk about a Willie Filipino, my father. And then the vegan trans dad part. Well, you're just going to have to see Vegan trans. Does that mean you're trans, Emil? Well, I'm a dad. Let's see. This is the blurb on the website. Emil Guillermo goes amok as he considers all things in a comic memoir on being American Filipino. That's usually my way of saying. I mean, a lot of people say Filipino American. I say American Filipino to distinguish between those who were born here and are Filipino. American Filipinos. The Filipino is the noun, and that's modified, and American is the adjective. Versus Filipino American, where American is the noun and Filipino is the adjective. Does it matter? Think about that. Anyway, that's why I say American Filipino, because I'm American Filipino AF. Sex is everything from his father's colonized past, NPR, Harvard, finding out the true nature of his offspring's gender identity. Ooh. Wow. What is that? How does that link? Oh, you must tell me, Emil. Well, you're going to have to see it. It's April 5th through 21st. Book your tickets on the website, April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, and 21st. There's 5 shows. It's a short time in New York. About 2 weeks. 2 weeks in New York. I'll be there. Anyway, frigid.nyc is the website. Look for Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad. I did a version in Fresno, of all places. I say of all places because I like Fresno. In fact, it's really quite a lovely community. It's got an arts community. Unfortunately, it has a lot of conservatives. It's got a large Latino community, and the white community is about 30%. So it's what you have there is a sense of diversity that you don't get in other California cities. And the Asians aren't, necessarily Filipino and Chinese and Indian. There's a big Hmong population there because the Hmong were situated, when they brought over as refugees. They had a choice. You go to Fresno, you go to the Central Valley. They went from Laos to Thailand. They stayed in those camps in Thailand, and big camps in Thailand, some in the Philippines. And around 2006-07, they brought them over. So they've been here about 19 years, a generation. And a lot went to Fresno. A lot went to Minnesota. So you got great Hmong populations, great Hmong communities in Minnesota, in the Central Valley. And then you see some of the past diverse groups that have come through California, like the Armenians, all in Fresno, the Japanese. So I enjoyed going to Fresno and doing the Rogue Festival, it's called, and there you go, it's a t-shirt there, the Rogue Festival. Oh, it was a fun time. Great people there. And if any of you Rogue people are listening, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Great activities. We had a poetry slam that was great, and also, I did my 5 shows, and all of them were great. And because of that, I'm ready to go to New York. All right. So, New York City Fringe. Go to NYC. Or go to frigid.nyc for tickets. All right, that's it. Hey, look, back again tomorrow. Hopefully I'll feel better. Got a little sniffly. But you'll recall I say meditation saves a day. And I mean it even for the sniffles. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal